Hey guys, it's Thursday, and I'm not going to complain about health insurance today, although I could go on, probably make 20 videos just with various things, but that's not going to be today. My name is Michelle. I have breast cancer, and I'm sharing my journey here with everyone. So I've had a couple of conversations in the last, I don't know, week or so, or a couple of weeks, that made me realize that maybe there's some information about going through this chemo process that cancer and chemo process that maybe I haven't shared or haven't shared well enough. And one of the things is, I'm not going to do them all in one video. I'm going to do different videos for them. One of the things is when you start doing chemo, you get blood work done every time you go, just a little bit before you do chemo. And for me, it's maybe about a half hour before my treatment starts. They pull me in, they draw some blood, and then they do the testing. And before they won't start the treatment until they get the results back for the blood that they've just drawn. And they're looking for a few things in that blood. One of them is to check your white blood cell count to make sure that it's at a high enough level. And the reason that they do that is that because chemo destroys your white blood cell count, which everybody pretty much knows, I think, that once you start doing chemotherapy, your immune system is knocked out. Like, that's one of the things that chemo does, is it knocks out your immune system. So for the shock to your system that the infusion of chemo is, they want to make sure that it's not completely annihilating all of your white blood count, all of your body's ability to fight off infection. So what most people do, and I believe this is universal, is that people will take, in my case, I took steroids. I took the day before, the day of, and the day after. I would take steroids. And those steroids boost your immune system. They boost your white blood cell count. They also boost your energy, which make you feel great for those 3 particular days. But what they also do that you may not be aware of is that it bumps up your glucose count. So I am not diabetic. Oh, look at this here. I am not diabetic, but my mother was. So it makes me, I'm super aware of diabetes. I'm super aware of blood sugar levels, of glucose levels. And it is a concern of mine, although I feel pretty comfortable at this point in life. It's not, unless I really go off the rails and just eat packets of sugar for the rest of my life. I don't think it's going to be something that I have to worry about, but it is something that I do think about. So when I went for my first chemo treatment and they drew my first blood, I was able to see all of my results in the portal, in the cancer center portal, pretty much immediately. So of course I'm curious. So I go in and I look and I'm browsing through, and my glucose level was over 200. Over 200. Now, if you know anything about glucose levels, a normal level is around 100. We can spike up to, like, let's say 140 or something after we eat. If we eat something particularly sugary, or we eat something, high carbohydrates or something like that, where the body processes glucose. But generally, your blood sugar should be around 100, which mine always is, maybe a little bit under 100. This was over 200. So I was like, oh my God, what is this? It was definitely a concern. So I mentioned that, and they said that is actually a direct result of the steroids, that the steroids do increase your glucose levels. So if you are diabetic, I have a good friend of mine right now has just started chemo treatment, and he was diagnosed pre-diabetic before chemo. So his first blood work, he had 1 chemo treatment so far, and during that treatment, they did the blood work, and his number was, I believe it was over 300, which is significantly high. But if you start off high, it's logical to assume that it's also going to be much higher with the steroids. But it's also something that you need to talk this over with your oncologist, make sure that they're aware that you are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and take steps to make sure that you're not going to send yourself into some sort of bad diabetic situation. as I said, mine was, over 200 is significantly high. So that was a big concern for me. But the nurses, the doctor, because I mentioned it, I was very concerned about it. And they said, no, that's actually to be expected. That's what we want to see. So just be prepared that if you start to do chemo, you're going to see some numbers that look crazy. Some of the other numbers that were high are the white blood cell count. That was high, and they want that to be high. They want that to be out of range. So the way that this portal works, it's actually pretty nice. I'm sure many healthcare networks have similar systems where the results are all listed in the portal, and if something is out of range, whether it's too high or too low, out of the normal range for you and your age, for me, the out of range things are all listed, and they're all indicated in red. So it's easy to scroll through and kind of get a good glimpse at what's normal, what's out of range. And then definitely talk to your doctor. If you see something that makes you uncomfortable, you're not sure what it is, it looks abnormal to you, talk to your team, talk to your staff, because they'll definitely have the answers for you, and they'll let you know whether or not it's something to actually be concerned about. But in particular, I really wanted to share about that glucose level, because that was a surprise to me. I didn't realize that was going to be so elevated. I knew my white blood cell count was going to be, because they had told me that they want to amp that up, but I didn't realize that the glucose came along for the ride, but it does. So just be aware of that. All right. If you have any questions about that, I'll try to answer whatever I can. So drop a note in the comments, and that's it. Take care, guys.